There's been a lot of national attention given to high impact practices. Certainly the language around high impact practices really engaged learning pedagogies, things like writing across the curriculum, learning communities, service learning, internships, capstones. And there's also lots of campuses that have things that are absolutely high impact practices that aren't going to fit into any list that you're normally going to see. And I would like to see at least two things hopefully emerge from the discussion around high impact practices. What will define campuses in the future moving forward with the high impact practices isn't that they exist on campus, it's that they're done well on campus. It's that they're assessed for their utility, and it's that students have more than one, probably more than two. So it will be a whole new level of campus intentionality with regard to the ways in which these practices are implemented. High impact learning practices have a few at least common characteristics. They always involve high levels of reflection, high levels of interaction, high levels of time on task, doing and engaging, whether that's in big questions or in feedback or in lots of different ways. There will be much more attention paid to the ways in which those are components of the practices themselves, so that we're as clear about our intentionality or why these practices are high impact as we are just about labeling them as high impact. And the other part of it is the scaling of them, is quite simply the idea that we need to know much more about the students who are experiencing these practices. We have some good and emerging evidence around the fact that these practices tend to be actually even more effective, more transformative for students from underserved populations. And we don't know enough from campuses from the disaggregation of their data and actually looking at the disaggregation of participation rates to say who's really participating in them, so we can look more at the transformative impact for all students. So I think what we hope going forward is that there's greater levels of intentionality around spreading the distribution of high impact practices across campuses, so the probability that students will have the opportunity to engage in them becomes higher, and so that we can really say that there's a much higher level of infusion of high impact practices across campus rather than localized in these discrete and special places.